Hi, I'm Ellie from Nourishment Redacted, and welcome to Lioness Lifestyle Live. This is a show where we honor a keto, carnivore, or meat-based woman. They share their experience and their healing journey to inspire and bring our community together.
And I am Cristie from Meeting Wellness. It is definitely so nice to meet with all of you this evening. We've all been inspired by someone's story, and we believe that sharing these stories is one of the best ways to help the people who are sick and without hope.
And hello, I'm Adrian from BiggestLoserCarnivore. Thank you for joining us tonight. We are so excited to have Heather with us. So if you have any questions, get them ready. Please put QQQ or question in front of your question so we can be sure to get it answered.
And now it is time for one of my favorite parts of the show. Here is this week's Roar of the Week. Short and sweet roar of the week this time. It says, good. Thank you all. Roar. Thank you so much for that awesome roar of the week. We shout out a comment every week. So if you want to be shouted out next week, be sure to drop us a comment below after the video is over. We will hunt through them and find one to shout out for the roar of the week next time.
Thanks, Cristie. And so tonight's guest is a nutritional therapy practitioner of the ketogenic lifestyle. She's a coach who specializes in helping clients achieve optimal health through a ketogenic diet and holistic wellness practices. Let's give a big welcome to Heather Mattice.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Heather.
Hello.
Well, welcome to the show. Thank you for being on. Can you please share with us who you are, your health journey, and why you coach a ketogenic lifestyle?
Oh, my story is just, it's an evolution. And I think everyone's journey is an evolution for sure. So I am a Gen Xer. I'm very proud of it. So I'm old, and I tell people that. I'm like, hey, I'm old, and it's okay. I grew up standard American diet. It was a, you know, if you watch Seinfeld and how Jerry had all the cereal, like I think he had 10 cereals at a time, that was our house. It was tons of processed foods. And I mean, you name it, we had it. We had 3 types of Doritos, maybe not quite that many, because I think it was only original Dorito and Cool Ranch when they first came out. Potato chips, ice cream, and we were active kids. So, I mean, we didn't think anything of it. No one said that anything was bad for you. My mom always struggled with her weight. So, I can't recall her ever really partaking in anything that we had. I mean, we made brownies and maybe she had a nibble here and there. And, then enter SnackWells. And since my mom was always on a diet, we were always subject to that. The Jenny Craig, the Weight Watchers. I think she was on Weight Watchers probably from the beginning. She probably knew Florine Marks from, by first name. And just watching her struggle over the years. And I remember in junior high, she had gone on medical weight loss, and I think they are still around. And I felt really bad for her. And I wanted to support her. And so I did it with her. And it was hard for me to do it. And I wasn't a super active kid. I mean, we played outside. We did the things that normal kids back then did. Not so much now. But I felt that she needed that support. So the food was horrible. It was worse than fat-free food. It was just void of any taste. It tasted like cardboard. And I was hungry. And here I am, however old you are in junior high. And I'm like, I couldn't understand how she did it. And she was like allotted like this, this one little piece of brownie that she made. I don't know why I remember the brownies so clearly, but those brownies just stuck with me because, I mean, they were tasteless. They looked like plastic after you bake them. And it was just horrible. So, and I had two sides to my story. So my parents were divorced, and they divorced when I was very young. So I had my mom's side where it was all processed food. It was convenient. We went out to eat all the time. So pizza was on Friday. She only cooked one day a week, and that was on Sunday. When she did, it was horrible. She didn't know how to cook. But her pot roast, and we always asked for more ketchup because it was just dry. And then on the weekends or every other weekend, we went to my dad's, and my dad cooked everything. Um, there was no processed food in his house. They baked their own bread. He made his own pasta sauce, and everything was from scratch. So it was a big difference between the two. And what we were, I think we probably even did we have this at home. And it's like, well, you're not going to have it here. That's not how we eat. So I think I knew what better cooking, how to cook more from my dad than anything. And that not everything came out of a box or it was already made for you. You actually had to do ingredients and things like that for it. So I'm in my teen years. I put on weight because eating junk, it catches up with you. And I'm still not very active. I was more of an artist. And towards my senior year of school, I decided to get into fitness. And my sister was. So I have two sisters. My oldest one, she's out in New Mexico, and my middle sister is here. And she started bodybuilding with one of her boyfriends. So it was kind of cool, seeing her do this and kind of like, okay, I kind of want to go to the gym. It was short-lived. It was a kid. It didn't last very long, but it was kind of cool to go, and you had your own gym membership. And from there, everything else was pretty typical. I went to college. I studied fashion design. I still ate the same way. Really not thinking anything of it. My weight was always pretty steady. I was right around 140 pounds. It was fine. I don't think I was ever truly comfortable in my skin. I think I was always conscious that, I could have felt better. But all I knew was crash diets, and you had to restrict, and I didn't like being hungry. And ask anybody that grew up with me, the hangry. It was horrible. And you don't go without a meal for 2 hours and you want to rip someone's head off. And that just isn't a way to be. And I still get teased for it now. My sisters will be like, "Oh no, Heather's hungry. She's going to rip your face off." And I'm like, "No, actually, I'm okay. I'm fine." And I still don't think they believe me, even though I say it. And I became vegetarian for a while. I had gotten married, and I think I had a love for animals. And I figured that, well, PETA was around, and I mean, they're still around, right? But I don't really pay attention. And so I signed up for PETA and animal rights. And I figured, like everybody that probably gets rid of animal products in their diets, that this is the best thing that you can do for the planet, for animals. And they don't really tell you about, farming practices and how many animals and bugs and that die during harvest time. But I stayed on that for about 10 years, and my health really suffered. I ended up developing a couple autoimmune diseases that are better. And you can't say you're cured from them, because sometimes you eat one wrong thing and you might get a little bit of a flare. I mean, the cold weather right now really affects me. but not as much as it used to. So I'm taking that as a win. So I was vegetarian for 10 years. And then one day I decided I wanted to eat meat. I was at Whole Foods, and I tell this story so much because I would go to Whole Foods and buy pounds and pounds of vegetables, and I would roast them. And they were delicious. I still, remember, roasting cabbage and Brussels sprouts and broccoli and all the things. And I would eat mounds of it every day and just absolutely love it. And I would go into the prepared food section at Whole Foods, and they'd have prepared sandwiches. And week after week, I just kept looking at this turkey and cheese sandwich. And I'm like, oh my God, why does this look so good to me? And I'm like, turkey just sounds really good. And one day I just did it. I bought it with my groceries. I went out to my car and I just ate it. And I felt really good. And I'm like, okay, so I'm going to eat meat again. And I never really looked back from there, but my health still wasn't the best. I had started getting back into physical fitness. So I was doing, let's see, at that time, I think I was just starting because I had met my now husband, and he's a cyclist, and I started getting into running prior to meeting him. So I was starting to ramp up my running and trying to get more distance and needing to eat better. And I was also, my job had led me to do more things in fitness. And I started teaching water aerobics and teaching these hybrid Pilates yoga classes and weight training classes. And I became too obsessive about it and really restricted and developed anorexia. And I limited, with all the activity I did, I limited my calories to 800 calories a day. And I got thin. I was always injured. I think people in class looked at me like that they knew that there was something wrong. Of course, I brushed it off. I had a desk job that was full time. And as with any type of office, there's candies around and people going out to eat and really wanting to do all those things. And they'd invite me, hey, you want to go out for lunch? And I'd be like, no, I've got, my yogurt here. I would eat yogurt for lunch and some granola. And so my health just kept declining. And at my gym, I met a dietitian. I'm like, I need to do something about this. And luckily, this didn't happen for very long. And I was able to get myself out of it. And with her help, she didn't look at it like I had an eating disorder, but more for my sports performance because I wanted to do really good marathoning. And I got into triathlons too. So she looked at it that way and just reshaped my way of thinking around food, and that food was fuel. And not that I was using it as a punishment, but restricting it maybe was. And as they told you, if you are a runner, you're faster when you're smaller. So that was always in the back of my mind. So I finally, with her help, I was eating more, but my health still wasn't any better. So I decided to just kind of search the internet. And I liked information. I liked finding things. And somehow or the other, and I wish I could remember how I actually stumbled onto them, but the website was called Purely Twins. And they were identical twins, both dealing with digestive issues, acne, and probably a few other things. And they were reading a book by Diane Sanfilippo. And I was like, I'm like, paleo, this is interesting. let me start digging deeper into this. And as I did, and it's, the processed foods went away, and I'm like, well, this could be something that could be helpful because I was having digestive issues. I was diagnosed with Hashimoto's and Raynaud's, where your fingers get nice and white and you lose feeling in them. And at the time, it was called adrenal fatigue. Of course, I've caused that one myself with all the abundance of things that I was doing. So I thought, oh, I've never heard of this. Let's dig deeper. And I bought her book at the time, and I'm trying to find it like on my shelf because I can't remember the name of it, but it was only digital at the time. And I bought the digital copy and read it and did the recipes for it and started feeling better. And from paleo, I also discovered, like, obviously this whole world, Mark Sisson, Rob Wolf, Liz Wolf, no relation, because she was podcasting with Diane at the time. And just digging into this whole ancestral movement that has really changed my whole perspective. And these are things that, unless you're questioning the food that you're eating or how you're feeling, and that was one thing, the how you're feeling, is I always questioned my doctors, because years ago when I didn't have Hashimoto's, my doctor looked at my blood work and told me, I think you might develop an autoimmune, maybe lupus in the future. Let's wait and see. And it's like, wait and see. Like, and at the time, I mean, you don't question the doctor, right? The doctor knows, the doctor went to school. So I just went, okay, there's nothing you can do. And it's not nothing that you can't do. You can do anything. You just need to do your own research. And that's what I did. I dove into anything that I could. Diane led me to autoimmune protocol with Mickey Trescott, and I learned from them and just kept snowballing from there. And through Liz Wolf, she had become a nutritional therapy practitioner with the NTA. So that was always in the back of my mind going, this became a passion of mine, that I was starting to help myself. I was starting to feel better. My brain fog was going away. I felt like I wasn't going to crash on my desk in the morning after getting up because I was so tired. And my digestion was getting better. And that had led me to other individuals in the ancestral space. Jason Seib. He was probably the first one that I heard about low carb. That wasn't Atkins, because everything that you saw was Atkins, and it was still all a lot of packaged product. And so I got his books and read that, and it was cyclical keto. So I grabbed a friend of mine and I'm like, hey, let's try this out. I wanted to see how it made me feel, because now I was into experimenting and biohacking and seeing what I could do. And I know she wanted to lose some weight. So, we were that support for each other. And then I had gone into the NTA and got my certification, and still kept learning and questioning and diving into things. And still, as practitioners, we still practice healing ourselves. So I was still experimenting with things and being guinea pigs for other practitioners. And I was starting a protocol with one of my professors, for lack of better words. We were trying to correct the SIBO that I more than likely had. We didn't test, and you should always test, don't guess, right? And I said, you know what? I want to try carnivore. Like, I've done the cyclical keto thing, and I really want to see if this is going to make a difference. And just like with anything that you try, I mean, back when I tried gluten-free, it took 3, 4, 5 times before it was like, okay, this is the right time now. And so I did that, and I think I did it for maybe a month, and I felt pretty good. And then I went back to low carb and kind of like went back and forth between those. And then started just going more keto and making things simple. And then within the past maybe 2 years, it's been more carnivore. And I feel the best meat-based, higher protein, and not everybody does. And getting rid of, I met Mary, everyone knows her probably as Keto Mary 71, her talking about food noise. And that last piece of that puzzle, because I had an addiction to peanut butter. And I mean, who wouldn't? I mean, peanut butter is delicious, but it was so bad that I would have 10 different flavors of peanut butter. I mean, when you go on the internet, really, you can find anything. If you have an addiction to something, obviously you can find it. Mine was peanut butter. And I couldn't just open a jar and not keep eating it. And you'll probably hear people say, and you probably have, that if you eat something enough and get sick from it, you'll stop. But you don't. You don't stop. You just go, you stop for right then. And then the next day you go, yeah, I want some more of that. That was pretty good. Oh, but I felt sick. Maybe I'll eat less this time. But you don't. And you keep doing it. So carnivores really helped me in that area to get rid of that food noise. I no longer look at food the way I used to. It's it's still delicious. I love red meat. And I eat burgers every day. I usually eat 2 meals, and I eat them for both. And sometimes I add something to it and sometimes I don't. Other meats are fine. But I go back to red meat. I feel pretty good. I'm satisfied. I don't feel like I need to snack during the day. And it's where I am now. Might that morph into something? Maybe. But actually right now, in any time in the next few years, I don't see anything changing. Just because I do feel my best eating this way.
Wow, that was an amazing story. Thank you so much for sharing that. That was wow. And I'm Gen X too, so I was like, yes, Snackwells. I remember all these things you're talking about, and our house totally have the cereal, the Seinfeld cereal, all of that stuff.
Right?
Was wondering if you could dig in a little bit more to your autoimmune.
Mm-hmm.
I think you said Raynaud's and Hashimoto's.
Yes. Yes.
Can you get into a little bit more of the symptoms, and then how are you doing now with both of those?
So my symptoms for Hashimoto's was a lot of brain fog, and I was tired. And usually people with Hashimoto's, I don't think everybody, I think it's more like half. I don't know the statistics, but people will be like, well, you didn't put on weight. And I'm like, no, I didn't put on weight. I think maybe I probably caught it early enough because I did try going on some thyroid medication and it did nothing. But then I was going to your typical doctor and they were like, no, your levels are fine. You're fine. And I'm like, no, I don't feel fine. I'm still really tired. And that's when I dug more into, oh, I shouldn't have tomatoes. Certain those nightshades aren't the best for me. Oh, when I eat a potato, that you're right, I don't feel the best. So figuring out my trigger foods in certain points was helpful. And when I removed those certain foods, I felt better. My brain fog went. And I can always tell if I have something that I shouldn't because the brain gets a little foggy. And when people don't understand what brain fog is, I try to explain it. And most people, unfortunately, have had a concussion. I'm like, a concussion is what brain fog is like you're kind of floating around. You're not quite there. Your reaction time is slow. You don't feel like yourself, but as soon as it lifts, it's like the veil is gone. You're like, oh my God, everything's clear again. And with the Raynaud's, it can come out of nowhere, but mostly in cold environments. So a lot of times in some past jobs, I had to do a lot of work in a freezer or a refrigerator, and it'd be very triggering. And people wouldn't understand why I couldn't just put on gloves, put on a coat, put on gloves. You'll be fine. And I would have it where just being outside, like inside, but the outside temperature being what it is, like right now it might be in the 40s. Like this morning it was in the 30s. And I can be in the house and it could trigger. And usually it's my 2 ring fingers. For whatever reason, my other fingers are fine, but the coloring will just completely go. They'll go completely white. And I've even had times where it looks like the whole finger around is bruised. And it's really frightening because you're like, oh my God, how long is this going to last? Are my fingers going to fall off? Or am I just going to completely lose circulation? And I've taken some pictures of it because some people don't. They're like, oh, it can't be that bad. And I'm like, it is. And it's very painful when they start. It's like going out and almost getting frostbite and trying to shake it off and getting the circulation back and running your hands underwater. And luckily I don't have it anywhere else except for those 2 fingers, but it's frightening when it does happen, and it's debilitating because you can't really use your hands at that point. But luckily, so I stumbled on, I think, again, another just Googling things that were going on and what could possibly help because I wasn't finding anything. I'm like, my diet is really good. I'm not eating anything that could be triggering it, but it's just the cold. The cold is the trigger. And I just looked at ginkgo biloba because it's for circulation. And I started taking that last year in the cold months, and I didn't get anything. It was perfect. And I'm like, could it be that easy just to work on, having a supplement that I could take that would alleviate this painful thing that would happen until I could see if there's other triggers, if I could do more digestive healing that will eliminate it, or at least put it in some sort of remission for a longer period of time.
I have so many questions. But first, I want to thank you for reminding me of some symptoms that I was struggling with. My fingers were going white. My limbs were going numb. I had a lot of what you just said, and you just made me remember, because you forget when you start feeling better. You forget
Right?
that you forget, and just like some of the food triggers too. Yeah, I never seem to learn my lesson. You have the reaction, and then you wait a while, and then you're like, no, I'm good. I don't
Right?
remember anything. And then you do it
Yeah.
over and over and over again.
Right? We're our own worst enemies.
Yes.
Mhm.
But I'm wondering if you've had your labs run and if you've seen any of your labs improve.
That one I'm working on. So I am working with a nurse practitioner that, because of all these hurricanes, she's been trying to send me the lab tests forever. And so we're doing this whole big panel because I'm very curious myself, especially being, I'm going to be 49 in 2 days. And so I want to get my hormones tested and everything tested just to see where I am, and then repeating those things and seeing what improvements I can make. So I wish I should have had them done before this, but unfortunately I didn't.
Yeah, that I totally understand. I've been like on the fence of like, do I get my blood work done? But I do think it's important if you have a concern. Speaking kind of like about doctors, you mentioned that your doctor said that you might develop an autoimmune condition. So they actually, he or she didn't actually give you any way of like one dealing with it, in a holistic kind of way at all. It was probably more like pushing more medicine. What do you do as a coach for those who come to you that I would think that benefits them more than a traditional doctor?
So I mean, I still want people to work with their doctors, of course. And not everyone can fire their doctor, right? Depending on where they live or can afford going to an alternative like a naturopath or a functional MD. And if a doctor is good, then they're open to any research that you can bring them or any suggestions. And usually when my clients come to me, they've already started doing that research. They already question their doctors. And I think as a coach being in just social media in general, speaking about what I've gone through and how I've fired a few doctors until I found the right one that he probably amused me, but he was open and he was willing to do the testing that I had asked for because I gave him a reason why. And I didn't have to always bring him the research. And it was in building that relationship. And doctors don't have very much time, and their hands are tied because of the insurances. And being able to have that open conversation with your doctor and have them address your concerns instead of brushing you off is really a game changer. And then to have a coach that maybe has some other resources. Like I have people that I know that I can go, maybe you can go get your own labs done because now you can for pretty inexpensive. Or maybe you can get your doctor to just run those tests. Maybe they won't. But having like someone else to be able to talk to about those, or someone else to run your labs that knows how to read those labs. So I like having so many people around me that I can go to them and go, hey, I know you can do this. Can you help me with this one client? And being able to have that community is really what can help anybody's clients. Because if you try there are coaches out there that do it alone, of course. And, I'm not saying that it can't be done alone, but when you have a community that you can reach out to and have them assist you with things that you can't do, it is really a game changer for that particular client.
Yeah, so let's talk a little bit more about your coaching. Can you tell us a little bit about your certification and what kinds of things that you help people with?
So as a nutritional therapist in general, I see what's going wrong in the body, and it usually starts in the digestive system. And most of the clients that are coming to me are on your standard American diet. And depending on the client, I don't like jumping anyone off completely what they're doing. When that happens, even though they say that they go, I want to do this, you go, you're going to crash and burn. So I have a client that she is just willing to do almost just about anything. And I said, you know what? I know you really want to go straight to keto, but you're eating ice cream every night. You're doing carry out every night. You're not ready. I'm like, I don't want you to fail. I want you to be successful. I want you to get you the things that you want for yourself. So there's a few pieces that I do. So we do have, it's a wellness questionnaire, and looks very lengthy. It's quite a few pages, but it really goes into depth about how your day is, the foods that you're eating, how you grew up. Do you take medications? How long have you been on medications? Are you taking birth control pills? Are you taking antacids? So it goes through all those things to really pinpoint areas that you need to work on. Most of the things that I see are digestion and stress. And I can start people out pretty simple with those things. One is by getting outside, grounding. It gets a little harder in the colder weather. Finding activities that you enjoy doing and taking time for you. And some people are like, I can't, I'm too busy. I don't have the time to just stop for myself for like 2 minutes. But it's 2 minutes that they could really change everything for themselves. Just by taking a few simple breaths will bring down that stress. By getting rid of, let's say they go to McDonald's every morning. How about we not go to the McDonald's? Oh, you like breakfast sandwiches. How about we teach you how to make those at home? How to get rid of the highly processed food that really isn't food, that's a bunch of chemicals. Let's do these baby steps to help you in those simple areas that we can before we jump into anything else. And sometimes I do add some supplements on those. Almost everybody can use digestive enzymes and maybe even some HCl, which is the hydrochloric acid, to help process their food. So usually just those few things will start making a difference. And usually when they start feeling better, then they're willing to do a little more and a little more every day. But I definitely don't just push someone into it unless they're like me, type A, and they're like, give it to me all right now. I'm doing it tomorrow.
So I know some people are going to say this doesn't sound natural, but I hear like I'm in the mold area where we're looking at our mold exposure as a family. And I'm
Yeah.
starting to go down this tunnel where some of the people in our space are saying that we can reduce inflammation and heal our gut using peptides. Have you looked into that at all?
A little bit. I kind of had thought about it for myself, and I typically respond pretty normally to most medications, where if I take a Benadryl, I'm not like my husband and completely just crash out. And, I don't get, if something is supposed to like calm me down, I don't get hyper. So I don't have any weird reactions to it. But I do know some people that it's helped. And then I do know some people that have had really bad side effects with some of them, which I found really interesting. This one person that did try, it's I think she's done a combination of peptides, but she has a very interesting digestive history, and she ended up getting an infection in her intestines. Nothing life-threatening, but she did have to go on some pretty strong antibiotics, and it did the total opposite for her. So with some of those, with the peptides, trying to find someone that is really skilled in them would probably be the best bet. And I know there's a couple out there that I would probably reach to talk to about, but as a baseline, I think that while they could be really good, I don't know, I would probably use some caution with them and really dig into some research and see where it goes. I mean, peptides are supposed to be, kind of a natural thing, and they just have some really weird things that happen with them.
And that's good to know. That's a subject I don't know much about, so I appreciate
Yeah.
that information. I've been following you on Instagram, I think, since we signed you up, and I've been watching your stories. You are so fit and so strong, and you're always going on these walks, and I'm just like, wow, that's amazing. Could you share what a typical day of activity is? And I know you mentioned you eat burger patties all the time, but what about eating as well?
Okay, yeah, my typical day. So I am an early riser. I've always been a morning person. No, strike that. I haven't always been a morning person, because back in my early 20s, I could easily sleep till 11 a.m. As I get older, and I used to be a baker, so I was always up very early, 1 a.m., sometimes going into work, depending if it was a holiday, sometimes at 11 p.m. before baking for 8-10 hours, and then decorating and just going on. So I got very used to being up early. And then also from marathon running, most races are in the morning. So my training would always be in the morning, because that's when a race was. I couldn't understand and wrap my head around people that would be like, oh yeah, after work, I'm going to go for a run. And then I'm going to do this race come Saturday morning at 7 a.m. I'm like, but you're never up at 7 a.m. You get up at 11. How are you going to do that? So I started switching my training over to the morning, and I've been doing that for over 20 years. and it feels really natural to me. So my morning typically now starts because I have dogs, and my dogs like to get me up by 6 a.m., even on the weekends. They don't care. So I get up, usually let them out, and I go downstairs. I have a home gym, and I lift weights. So I went from endurance to bodybuilding. And I always say, like it's hard when women tell you that they don't want to look bulky. I've been doing it for years and I still can't get bulky. So don't worry about that. Lift the weights. It's good for you. I'll do about 45 minutes of weightlifting, followed by walking one of my dogs because she's a couch potato. So I walk her for about 45 minutes in the morning. It's about 3.25 miles. And even right now, when it's so dark, I have all the headlights. Like she's got this lighted collar. I have lights on me and my phone, and it's pitch black where I live because I live out in the sticks. And we do our walk and we come home. Everyone eats, and then I get to eat. So my typical first meal, I do a protein coffee. So it's just like it sounds, except I make it a little more bougie. My protein coffee has protein powder. I usually always go for chocolate because that's my go-to. And it's a large, it's like 24 ounces. So cold or hot, it's still the same amount. I also use hyaluronic acid because of a more recent podcast from Vanessa Spina. She was talking about hyaluronic acid and that it needs to be ingested and not just applied topically. So I started adding that to my coffee with collagen and a little bit of stevia. And it's not carnivore, but it's my comfort, my go-to. It's my ritual. I absolutely love it. And even though that's quite a bit of protein, I add more protein onto it. So I'm typically getting about 100 grams of protein average in just that one meal, which is more than what a lot of people eat in one day. And so, yeah, usually it is some burger or some form of ground beef. And it could be anywhere from 85.15 up to a 93.7 based on just how my body's feeling. And when I try to explain to people like how to feel like when you've had too much fat during your week and you just kind of want something that's lower in fat, like when you become more in tune to the way your body is responding to things, when you've had like, okay, I've had too much fat the past few days. I just want to lower it for maybe half the day to just get back to my normal baseline. And yeah, those ebbs and flows. And there'll be times so I do follow my own macro plan. I like numbers. I like data. You don't know until you know. So right now I am playing with those numbers and trying to build muscle. So I try to keep that particular meal pretty in check, though I have been playing with higher fat grams. So my fat grams, I really don't do any heavy cream. Once in a while I might, but usually that'll be in the form of butter. I love cheese, but sometimes having too much cheese isn't the best either. And that can really hinder. If you're on a weight loss plan, I always say, you need to cut dairy for a little while and see how you react. Pickles. I mean, that's probably my 1%. I love pickles. So that's probably always on my plate too. And then throughout the day, I will drink electrolytes in my water, and possibly, depending on how active I've been, I might have a snack. It could be part of a keto brick, which is absolutely wonderful. Sometimes some jerky, but I keep that really simple. And then I'm an early bird special girl, so I love eating between 4 and 5. But then again, my first meal is somewhere between 8 and 9. So usually about 8-9 hours, I really want to eat a full meal again. And that's where I'll fill in the rest of my macros because I don't like to eat at least 3 hours prior to going to bed, which is usually about 10. And sometimes it's the same meal that I had in the morning. And sometimes it's something totally different. Like tonight I had, it's nacho night. It's Tuesday. So instead of Taco Tuesday, we do nacho bowl night. So it'll be so I average probably about 2 pounds of ground beef, or just meat in general, about 2 pounds. And depending on the protein that you're having, those protein grams can be different. So I think chicken usually has a higher percentage of protein grams than what any other meat has. Don't fact check me. I'm not sure, but I just know protein is a lot more filling for a less amount, which is really odd because I always ask people, I'm like, don't you feel really full on a chicken breast? I'm like, no one ever eats two. I'm like, I could eat a couple steaks, but give me a couple chicken breasts and forget it. And I do tend to stay away from chicken because it doesn't always make me feel the best. Again, listening to your body and how it feels, and keeping your food simple. I can't stress that one enough. I keep my meals simple because, again, food noise, and I want to know how my body's responding. So the less ingredients for me, the better. I get my bang out of my seasoning. I use the same seasonings all the time. I get porking good. They're easy. There's no sugar in them. I love them. Wash, rinse, repeat.
Yeah, that sounds great. I can eat other meat too. Like I do eat pork and chicken, but if I find that if I eat that, the next day I'm really extra craving some beef.
Right?
So
You're
I
like,
know that, yeah, give me
yeah.
a ribeye or some picanha, like
Right.
especially the day after I eat that.
Yeah. Or you question yourself with like, why did I eat the chicken? Why did I do that to
Yeah.
myself? Like,
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just wanted the
Yeah.
red meat. Why didn't I just have that?
I know. It's like I have all this pork shoulder and I like it. I didn't want it today. I wanted beef, but I felt out of like guilt of having all this pork shoulder
Right.
and like not throwing it away. I ate pork for dinner, but I'm still like regretting it and wishing I had eaten, even though I'm
Exactly.
full, but yeah.
Yeah.
So earlier you talked about grounding. I love grounding. And I know that
Mhm.
even after just a few seconds, like a minute, I already start to feel, calmer and better and centered and all this kind of woo-woo sounding stuff. But,
Right.
it makes me feel really good. I would like to hear more about what your grounding recommendations are and then any other like biohacking type of stuff that you might do or recommend.
So with the grounding, I'm still playing around with the thought of getting a grounding mat or grounding sheets. There's been so many people that have been talking about them, and I haven't gotten there yet. Probably because it's just now getting cold, and I'll probably go, okay, I need to try this. But just the act of getting your feet out in the grass is settling. It's that electromagnetic pull. And I find that when I do that, even like I'm walking outside with the dogs, and it could be a short period of time, I sleep so much better. I just feel like woo woo. I feel very one with the universe. And, and you need to go into it with the right mindset too, right? Because if you go into it going, this isn't going to work, whatever, you're full of beans, you might not get the effect right away. But then you keep on doing it going, okay, my coach told me I should do this. I'll just go out and do it and whatever. And then those subtle changes will start happening. You'd be like, okay, yeah, I feel a little better. I'm not as, I kind of crave it now. Why am I craving it? Oh yeah, my stress is going away. And yeah, so I know a few people that have the mats and the sheets, so I'm gonna have to probably dig into that one. The other biohack that I absolutely love are the amber glasses at night. That one's a real big game changer for sleep. I can put them on for a short period of time and just have the most restful sound sleep. And when I don't wear them, I can tell. I kind of toss and turn. I have a Fitbit that actually does sleep. I'd love an Aura ring just to track sleep because, again, I love the data and I love to see where I can make improvements on.
Do you have any suggestions do you suggest the sauna? And if so, one thing, when I go in a sauna, I get like a Herx reaction. Is there a way around that?
That one I don't know. I just started getting into some sauna, and I've been looking at that one for a while. I was probably shorter periods of time. Maybe it's too hot, but yeah, not really sure with the sauna part. I want to do cold plunge too, but Ben Azadi was doing cold plunge. He also has Raynaud's, and I know he took it very slowly with cold plunge and just did like little increments and gradually built his time up. So with the sauna, I don't know if that could be something similar, but not really sure.
Yeah, I've never tried any of that stuff, but it seems like it is really good for the body. We did have a question from Bruce. You say a short time. How long do you wear blue blocking glasses?
I put them on as soon as it gets dark. And I know in the summertime, it doesn't, it just stays light till like 10 p.m. at night. So as soon as I know, at least an hour, I find that's been a pretty good sweet spot for me where I get some benefit.
All right, awesome. I would love to share your Instagram, and I know you're also on Facebook. Oh yeah, I had this picture ready because I'm like, look at these guns. I had this ready when I was talking about how active you are. So can you tell us what you like to share on your Instagram, where we can find you to better connect with you as well? I know you're on Facebook. And then can you tell us about your coaching?
Yeah, so my coaching is with Hack Your Health Coaching, which was formerly KetoCon. So while our foundation is still in the ketogenic lifestyle, we do meet people where they need to be met. So if they are coming from the SAD diet, we don't immediately say keto. We just want you to eat whole, real foods and start to get healthy. And what I share everything, my daily life. And my husband will say, "Do you really want to share that?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I'm like, this is life. This is how things go for me. And if there's some bad and there's some good, and if my hair doesn't look good, I mean, I completely fried my hair last year, and everyone got to see it, and it was okay because this is how things were going. It's not always perfect, and I mean, that's what I tell my clients. I'm like, you don't have to nail it. You don't have to please me. You have to please yourself and do the things that you want to do because that's what makes life sustainable for you. Except eating a donut. Don't eat a donut. It's not sustainable.
No, that's not. Well, we have a meaty wheel, Heather. We didn't get a chance to let you know before the show, but it's a wheel that we like to spin, and it's going to generate a question for you.
Oh, fun.
That we would love for you to answer. So I'm about to pop that wheel up right now. Okay, so this is our wheel. I'm going to give it a spin, and we'll see the question we can hunt down for you.
Oh, boy.
All right, here is your meaty question. What is the funniest or most memorable mishap you've had while cooking meat?
Oh, my goodness. The last piece of meat that I cooked, and I think it was picanha, I butchered it.
Ooh, that's
it
so
was it was really tough. Of course, if you ask my husband about chicken, he says I always cook rubber chicken. So, I mean, both of those. I had one epic fail with some beef, but I still ate it. It was still good. I fixed it.
So sad to mess up a picanha, though. That is my absolute favorite.
Right? I blamed it on the picanha. Like, it just wasn't a good cut.
You sound like a woman of my own heart. We just never throw meat away.
No.
Maybe it's a little dry. We need to put some butter and some salt on top.
Right?
It goes right in the freezer, right back out. And it's amazing that this diet, there's just so much less waste. I don't even throw away the drippings anymore.
No, me neither. Me neither.
That adds all the flavor.
Yep.
Well, I don't think we warned you, but at the
There's
end
another warning.
There is
another one. This one's the best. At the end of every show, because we are the lionesses, we roar. And so we hope you'll roar with us. I'm going to count down. And that's kind of how we end the show as we roar together. And so everybody who's in our comment section, first of all, thank you for being here and being so active. Secondly, get your roars ready.
Awesome.
All right. Are we ready? Okay. 3, 2, 1, roar!
Heather, that was an awesome roar. That was amazing.
Oh, thanks.
If you all go on our brand new channel, our brand new consolidated channel, which we need you to subscribe to so you don't miss a single show. Sorry, that's your line, Cristie. You'll see that there is a roar compilation. It's pretty
Oh
good.
yeah,
Oh my God,
Ellie
that's
actually
awesome.
made it. If you haven't watched it yet, go watch it. It was awesome. And yes,
That's
thank you,
fabulous.
Toasty Cheesy.
We've got a lot of awesome roars tonight. Thank you, guys.
Cool.
I like Bruce's roar. Roar, Pixel, roar. Sorry she's not here, Bruce. I don't know where she was up on the desk earlier before we went live. I don't know. She's hiding.
Jeez.
Oh, a meow.
Meow.
Yay.
Yay.
Thanks, Michael. Love it. Love it.
Awesome.
All right, everybody. Well, thank you so much for joining us this evening on Lioness Lifestyle Live. We hope to see you here next week because we will be here with another awesome guest. Thanks for watching, everybody. Good night.
Bye. Love you. Bye.